And for the spiritual journey to help yourself, what we're talking about here in getting stuck and claiming your voice, your power, is opening up emotionally, beginning to become more emotionally aware and fluent. Sometimes this is called emotional intelligence.
Hello, everyone. I am Claudiu Murgan, the host of the Spiritual Inspire podcast. Welcome back to a new episode. Please, a kind reminder that we are on Gnostic TV these days. Also, the promotional clips run on YouTube. And if you like the content, please leave a comment and share it with your friends. My guest today is Phillip Mountrose. Phillip, thank you for joining me.
Great to be back with you, Claudiu.
Yes, this is your second time on Spiritual Inspired. We had a great conversation first time. And I know a lot of things have happened to you and for you and your wife since we last talked. So we decided to catch up on everything.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Yes. So um, you have a new subject, let's say, or something that you are very passionate about, and you talk about it recently. Getting unstuck, claiming your power, and finding your voice. Why do you think this particular subject is necessary to talk about these days?
Yeah, claiming your power, finding your voice. It's something that comes up a lot with most of the holistic people that we encounter. Uh, the idea is, who am I at a deeper level? And once you do that, you can speak from the heart, from the soul. And therefore, when you're not there, at a certain point, you get stuck. And the good thing about getting stuck is it's prompting you to find that deeper meaning, that deeper awareness that life is calling for you, which is actually part of your purpose and why you're here, the bigger picture.
And I think that most of the light workers and spiritual teachers say that the throat chakra is something we have to open up if we really want to express ourselves. And sometimes is we cause disease in our throat because we cannot make this expression or vocal this expression and tell everyone else what we think and what we really want to express.
Right. Yeah. So sooner or later, the blocks come up in life, and they say, "Hey, things aren't working out for me. We can't put it under the rug anymore." Uh, and then you start to reach out for help, which is a good thing on your journey. To go further on your journey, that means investigating more, listening to interviews like this, connecting with people, connecting with groups, getting support to help people reach up, so you can in turn get freer and express yourself and help other people, lift other people up in the process.
And staying on this express yourself idea, let's assume, because I want to provide some practical
Right.
advice to the viewers. Let's say I'm a light worker at the beginning of my journey and I would like to help others. How can you and your wife, Jane, can help me and others in the similar situation?
Well, one of the things we like to help people do is boost what we call their emotional and spiritual intelligence. The idea that we have intelligences, and most people think of mental IQ, that's one part of who we are. And then we have physical intelligence, how well we move our body, space. And some people are more gifted than others naturally, but there's much more to us. And for the spiritual journey to help yourself, what we're talking about here in getting stuck and claiming your voice, your power, is opening up emotionally, beginning to become more emotionally aware and fluent. Sometimes this is called emotional intelligence, which in turn is a gateway to spiritual growth as well. So you want to learn how to develop that. And some people are more fluent with that self-awareness and self-reflection. But I can share, to answer your question, some strategies, some ways to start to boost your emotional and intelligence, which would lead to your spiritual intelligence, opening up your throat chakra. So part of it is just to recognize that we have a range of emotions, as we know. And that means there's some more constrictive emotions, which tend to decrease our quality in life if we hang out there too much. anxiety, fear, loneliness, despair. And then there's more neutral emotions where we're okay, we're maybe content, things aren't bothering us. And that is going to open us up to positive emotions, positive optimism, which is an emotion, joy, excitement, love, enthusiasm. And that's going to increase our quality of life to hang out there more often. So here at Awakenings Institute, which my wife and I, that's our nonprofit organization, where we help people open up to their gifts and honoring nature and making the world a more peaceful, loving place. So at Awakenings Institute, through our programs and helping people individually, we share these tools and strategies that are very practical and grounded, but they're spiritually soul-based. And we can talk about a few of them. One of them I'll start with is when you sometimes react, if you start to notice something that's a stressor, we all have stressors. And by the way, stress is sometimes called the silent killer. Uh, it affects, as we probably know, your immune system, your hormones, your well-being, even your longevity. The science is showing this. So you want to be in a more optimistic, positive place, but yet you can easily be besieged, as we know, by stress. And stress is part of life. So dealing with that as a challenge is normal and can even be healthy to a degree. But the chronic stress, of course, is what we're talking about, being too busy, overwhelmed, lost, confused, and that goes back to getting stuck where we started out. So let's do this little experience. And Claudiu, you said you'd be willing to do this, and we call this the monster reframe. And I'll do it with you, and then I'll share some other stories of some of the clients, students, people we've helped what they had. But let's just do a fresh in the moment thing. So we start with, okay, someone, you have a stressor in your life, and we all face these often daily. Some of them are kind of intense. Can you think of a stressor you're working with currently today, or it's coming up?
Yes, I mean, is the, responsibility for the family related to potential financial issues? Will we make it in case something drastic happens? Do we have enough, savings to go through that dramatic period, and doesn't have to affect, let's say, only us as a family, but could be something at a much larger level, but we are a small, minuscule part of the whole.
So you're worrying, like, say, a cultural crisis, an ecological crisis, or something of that nature could come out of the blue and you wouldn't be prepared for it. Is that what you're referring to?
Kind of, yes, yeah.
One example is something
Yes,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
or just the stressors. So something comes up. Can you think? And it's good to do this because to be in the moment, like the people watching this, hey, this stressor hit me today, or will hit you very soon because we have these. And what's like the specific? So something happened that triggered this stressor. Do you want to just briefly refer to it? Because that might be interesting to
To
concrete.
me, I think I mean, how it manifests. This is how you
Yes, something you pick up a cue, a signal, something happens, and then that stress comes like in the what happened that triggered it recently.
again, there are news which I'm trying to stay away from, but if something hits me, then could affect me temporarily.
Okay,
And
so you heard you saw something in the news that was disturbing to you.
yes, yeah, that's an example.
So you saw something in the news that disturbed you that made you stress about your personal finances for you and your family.
Yes.
Okay, and I think a lot of people can relate to what you just said or a variation. So this is a good example. I mean, I can relate to it. And so the what we call this monster reframe, it's sort of a humorous way of saying it, is if you imagine, sense, see, get a sense, if that reaction that you had, that's probably pretty easy to recall because these things are kind of ingrained in us. If it were a monster, what would it be like for you?
I mean, if I face a monster,
If you imagine that stress that you just told me was a monster, what would it look like? What would it be like for you if it were a monster?
oh, pretty much I think is like a type of Godzilla type of monster, maybe.
Like a big ape, a Godzilla ape kind of thing?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and where is it in relationship to you?
Um, Physically located, you mean,
Yeah,
or
like when you're sensing this big Godzilla, where are
yeah,
you in the picture?
I face it pretty much, I
Yeah, so
face
it
it.
must be much bigger than you, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to what we call shrink the monster down the size. And there's different ways we can do it. And some of it is we just do a simple what we call tapping with the EFT. You can tap some of the EFT points. You can just follow along with me, just
Mhm.
tapping the top of your head and then tapping the eyebrows. These are key EFT and emotional freedom technique circuits. And then tapping the side of the eyes as we're dealing with that monster. And then tapping under the eyes. We're helping reduce the monster under the nose and then the chin and then the collarbone, under the collarbone and under the arm. We take a nice breath and we finally do just two more points. We call it a reset process where you're tapping the top of your head for integrating your left and right brain with this, dealing with the monster, breathing, and then integrating in your heart, the peace and love in your heart, integrating, taking a nice deep breath. Okay. So returning to that situation, that scenario, that picture, what's it like for you now, Claudiu?
So just to be very honest with the audience, in that particular moment or while talking, I I'm not in that fight or flight situation. I'm
Yes?
past that. But I like to think that I reduced and shrunk that monster to a very funny, playful um, monkey, you know,
Right.
and is much lower than me. I can look down instead of looking up, and I can handle the situation. I did feel the release of tension by just tapping without facing the monster. That I can vouch for. Yes.
Great. So that was very simple. It took a couple minutes. And just a little disclaimer that this isn't a substitute for professional help if you need that, if you're in a serious emotional place. So we want to just put that out there to get professional help. But basically, for everyday stressors, which we all face, this is a nice, easy thing to do with just having, sometimes just the visualization alone is enough to shrink it. Or what your example is reminds me of one of our students' clients. She was being bothered by some loud music that kept invading her space, and there was this big monster hovering over her. And so she did some of these breathing, healing EFT process just very quickly, and suddenly the monster sort of came in and was playing with her. It sort of reminded me of you, the monkey idea, of the playful monkey. It's interesting how much we can change our perspectives so quickly, isn't it?
Yes, and then something else we have to mention, and this is due to my personal experience and my interaction with professionals like yourself, is that we have to face the monster, not run
Right.
away from the monster, because otherwise the monster will keep coming back.
Right, like a bad dream, a recurring dream, a nightmare. And I think the point is perfectly made that this stress is coming up for us to face and have a different way of responding, not reacting, not shrinking, not the restrictive emotions. Once you get into sort of the neutral place, just by observing it, those neutral emotions, then you can start to go to the expansive emotions. And speaking of expansive emotions, how are you feeling now
Yeah,
regarding stress?
I feel great. I mean, I feel lighter, that's for sure.
Lighter, yeah. And lighter might be more what? Accepting, optimistic. How would you put it?
Accepting, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in a more positive, content place, dealing with things, what you can and cannot
Yes.
control. That's part of it. And, we know a lot of this mentally, intellectually, but we're not, most of us, that emotionally intelligent, which is a gateway to spiritual intelligence, as we'll be exploring today.
Yes.
And just to give you another couple quick examples of this monster reframe, um, uh, what comes up with a lot of people is they don't have enough energy. for a variety of reasons. And one lady was feeling kind of beside herself because she had such low energy that day. And she did the monster reframe. For her, it was a big dark blob. And after doing some of the quick tapping, healing, breathing like you did, it just shrunk down to a little teeny cute tadpole that she put in water. Uh, and another quick story, another lacking energy, which is a big challenge, getting stuck, not having enough energy. A lady wanted to do some yard work, and she said, I'm frustrated because I don't have enough energy to get out in the yard and take care of it like I'd like to. And so her monster was this huge vine, this tangled vine that was massive, with all these leaves and things hovering, twisted. And when she started doing the tapping and the breathing, it's just started to change. And she asked an angel to come in. And that's another resource, asking an angel or your higher self to come in. And the angel took a cosmic herbicide and blew it on the twisted monster vine, and it all sort of dissipated. The leaves fell, and it just was a nice little pile of leaves on the ground, and then the ground just turned into a bed of flowers that were very multicolored and beautiful and growing. And she just had a lot of joy in her heart and much more energy after that.
Yeah, and it shows the power of the mind and the how much we can do if we put our mind into the right direction on the positive path, if we go with the flow and not against it. And we really have to work on this type of behavior in order to attain what we want to achieve.
Right. And great point. And if you start to do things like the monster reframe, intentionally boost your emotional intelligence, and you might need to study it more, practice it more, connect with people like us more, whatever you do need to do, you'll be guided to do that. It becomes easier, as you said, and it becomes, then you're not reacting to the monsters as much. The monsters are smaller, so the intensity goes down and the duration goes down, and what goes up is more positive emotions become intense and more sustained and longer. So it inverts it from a lot of monsters and stress to a lot of contentment and positive emotions, and that's more your natural response.
Yes, and to stay on the same vein of consistency, I mean, we chat prior the interview, before the interview, that it took consistency for me to reach almost 200 interviews in 40 years. And
That's
I
impressive.
didn't give up. I just put my mind into it. I did it because I like it. And the same with what you are saying. This is a lifestyle of shrinking the monsters, and staying into the high vibration. And if we do that on a daily basis or even every other day, then our mind and our body will get accustomed with this type of vibration, and the monsters might not appear anymore.
Changing your vibration, that's a good way of putting it. Mhm.
Yeah. Philip, I know that, again, going back to holistic practitioners and light workers, it's very hard for them to market themselves these days because not everyone is educated into this new holistic wellness field. Can you help these practitioners through your institute?
Help them, you mean from the marketing?
Promote, yes, promote themselves.
Promote. Well, that isn't really our specialty of helping people promote their business, although we do understand how holistic businesses work and we support them emotionally and their mindset. So that in that sense, it is definitely helpful. We're not, business coaches. We're more holistic spiritual life coaches, but that obviously applies to the material realm. Sometimes we call that balancing the spiritual and the earthly. So you want to have a good sense of the spiritual world, which a lot of people watching this are, and you want to also have a good sense of the material world. That polarity is a yin yang that you want to have in balance. So looking at your life, a lot of holistic people are too much kind of head in the sky and not feet on the ground, and they might need more help on getting their feet on the ground and being very practical. And we can help them balance themselves emotionally and spiritually so they feel better about themselves, and that would put them in a really good position going forward.
Yes, having a support team is very important, as you said, will keep us grounded, and some will take care of the 3D elements of the business, while the entrepreneur, the
Right.
holistic entrepreneur, will do his work bettering other
Right.
people.
It all works together. What we specialize in, Claudiu, is helping people spiritually evolve in their life purpose and doing a lot of healing and spiritual coaching in the process. So there's stages of spiritual development, the way we've mapped it out. There's different developmental stages. And at a certain point, people watching this, they're very interested in breaking from the status quo, the mainstream. And then going further, then they want to do some of the inner healing and inner work. That would be another stage where they want to get free from inner child things, past life traumas, and so forth. And we would be a good person to help them that through either our trainings or individual help. And then going further, then that helps open your voice. All of it is not linear, of course, but then when you have a certain amount of inner child peace and contentment and the parts within yourself are working together, so the stressors aren't overwhelming you and the inner monsters aren't running your life. When you get a better handle on that, which it is a journey, it's a process, it's learning, and that's what we're here to do, then you're more free to express yourself, and where we started claiming your power and finding your voice.
Yeah, so you mentioned, trauma, rejection, and express yourself, which are keywords in what we are doing. But let's say someone doesn't find the right, or is afraid to come out of the closet and say, I am a channeler, I can do this, I can do that. And is that fear of rejection from close friends, family? Do you have any examples from your practice that you encountered this situation, and how did you advise people to deal with it?
Yes, well, this follows up with our previous discussion of opening your emotional intelligence into your spiritual intelligence, and I'll share another process we did with an example. Um, so for this lady, I think she was one of our students. Like, her issue was being criticized by her brother. Um, so just being around people who are close to you but can be kind of hostile to you in your family. And part of the spiritual intelligence is also developing a spiritual family of people on earth who are like-minded, and the invisible, unseen friends, angels, masters, and certainly more intimacy with your soul, which is how you spiritually evolve. So going back to the student, Janet, I think she was bothered because her brother would come in with these different issues about employment and having problems with work. And if she'd ever try to offer a suggestion to help him, he would become actually very hostile and critical of her. You might relate, I'm sure, a lot of people to this, like people close to them, they're complaining about their situation, and if you offer any suggestion, they actually kind of attacked you. And this is a long-term pattern. And there were deeper levels for her too, in terms of her why she was doing this. And that's, I think, answering your question. So after doing this, what we call mud to mountaintop, going to a higher perspective, a soulful perspective, seeing the situation from a higher perspective, uh, she connected with her soul and higher beings there. And what she received was a dove in her heart. It's a beautiful image. So that dove in her heart, she sent down to her struggling, stressful self that was battling with her brother. And so she received that. So you might wonder, well, how did that play out? The nice thing is it plays out different in your reality, like doing the monster reframe we just did. So this mud to mountaintop, afterwards, her relationship with her brother entirely changed. That doesn't mean her brother changes, because that's his journey. But if she's not in the same place, he's not going to respond or react to her the same. And she was much more able to get along and feel comfortable with, even when he was sort of not in a very good place himself.
Yes, we really have to be aware of these type of situations and ask for help. And I think, and I not just think, I know that the spirit will reply one way or another. There are so many synchronicities that come into our life, and we sometimes we just don't pay attention and we disregard it as a coincidence or something similar. But these are messages, and I read every day books from my authored by my guests, and their stories are just unbelievable. And you can say that everything is um, arranged, and it comes to us through various messages, because we have to get that message. We have to straighten up our path, and that's an amazing feeling.
It is amazing, yeah. Uh, the synchronicities in life are showing us what we're here to learn and where our next step is if we just open up to them. And sometimes it's just being patient and waiting. What indeed is that next step?
Yeah. Philip, I'd like to talk more about your book, The Loving Power of Your Soul. What
Hmm.
determined you to write it?
Right. The Loving Power of Your Soul is our most recent book, and we're going to be coming out with another book, Awakening to Your Magnificence, Pathways to the New Frontier, Next New Frontier for Humanity. In the recent book, Loving Power of Your Soul, is different ways to connect directly with your soul. So part of the answer to all of these challenges, our life purpose, developing our emotional and spiritual intelligence, is connecting with that deeper part and being more heart-centered, sometimes called the path of love, so you feel more alive. And that's a way of looking forward to your life, like instead of resisting your life or regretting your life or bemoaning your life. And that loving power of your soul, in the book, we show specific ways. And I mentioned one, the mud to the mountaintop, where you go to a higher place, a higher vantage point to see your life. So when you feel stuck, when you want to claim your power, when you want to find your voice, if you imagine yourself rising up to a beautiful place, it might be a mountain place, mountaintop, or a summit, could be another lofty place, and you may see it or sense it. And from there, just view your situation, your current situation. And again, the more you do that, the more that becomes the way you live your life and the orientation, the vantage point. So even when things are, quote, not working out, you're learning something from that. There's a reason to go through that experience for more love and learning.
Yes, I think these days we really have to stay in our heart and show kindness and love to ourselves, first of all, and as much as possible, love to those around us. And this is how the environment will change, as like an example you gave earlier with the sister and the brother. Even if the situation with the other person won't change that much, at least it will ease the pressure. Something will also change at certain level.
Right. It feels like you're on the right track. You're living the life you're supposed to. And that doesn't mean there won't be challenges and times when you get stuck, but you have a lot more resources and tools and support to deal with it.
Yes. I saw another video where you and Jane did a Oracle session. How do you use this tool, and why?
Uh, that's one of the new pathways for humanity, the next new frontier for humanity using oracles. And we now teach a course called Spiritual Guide Certification, where we teach oracles and connecting with archangels and masters and the Akashic records. And oracles is a wonderful gateway, and it can be oracles or tarot cards. I have one on my desk, and it can become a daily meditation, which we do here, Jane and I, as part of our healing. And certain decks are very profound and spiritual. There are hundreds of oracle decks, and there's the tarot, which has that major and minor arcana, which reputedly started from ancient Egypt and was parlor games. And there are all kinds of decks. There's teddy bear and cupid decks that are not particularly spiritually oriented, but there are some that are very profound. And what they do, Claudiu, is open up your intuition. And Jane and I have been fascinated for this for many years, and it seems to have a synchronous effect in the moment. It shows you hidden relationships and oracles. There are the idea of a person as an oracle, like the Delphi in ancient Greece, or the Dalai Lama has a person like a person who is a diviner of the future. And we don't look at Oracle decks so much as predicting the future. They might show patterns and indicators because the future is in flux, but they will show us a bigger picture and hidden patterns. And they start with a focus. And there are many different cards and readings, and I can show a real simple one here just to give people a sense of this. So you start with a specific something in mind, a question. An easy one I like to do daily, not there are many questions, is how can I optimize the day?
Mhm.
And it's more of an open-ended question. It's better to avoid yes, no. I mean, some people like, is my perfect job or my perfect relation coming? Well, what would help me with my finding a great relationship? What would help me with finding my perfect career or a great career? So that would be a good open-ended insight. And you can draw on, there are archangels and masters cards that are associated with them, so they combine very well, or the Akashic records, so it's a good combination. But sticking with the oracle decks, and the oracles versus a tarot deck is can be any theme. It can be a nature theme, it can be ascended masters, it can be archetypes, it can be many different themes that people put together a certain number of cards, and they have pictures and images. And when you draw a card, and it seems very strange at first, it still is kind of strange to us. It's kind of like when I channel higher beings, it's still very strange to me, but I've done it many times. You just sit with it and see what ahas come, which may be immediate or take a moment. So when I'm about to draw this card, the suspense is building. The idea is to look at the image, and we'll get a little tagline what the author says the interpretation of the card is, which may or may not apply to the person watching this. It could be one word, it could be the image, it could be a combination. Sometimes the image and the interpretation is not it. The great thing, because you're building your intuition will know.
Mhm.
And it's a great way of trusting yourself, suspending your left brain analytical mind for a moment to see what comes up. So shall we have an experience here,
Yes,
Claudio?
please, please.
So we need a focus. Um, and we started off with how can you get unstuck and claim your power? Does that sound, should that be the focus of the card? Do you have another suggestion?
Um, I was thinking about because you mentioned nature. I know this is a tough one. You tell me because we are spontaneously exchanging ideas here. I
Yes.
was thinking about the question, how can we unlock the memory of water? Is that too complicated?
Um, well, that's kind of a very specific esoteric one. I think, let me see if this makes sense, because I'm kind of thinking of everyone. What I would say to that is, how can I learn more about, you said water?
Yes.
Um, Maybe to make it more applicable to everyone now, how can we connect with nature more or better?
Okay. Yeah.
Does that sound good enough? So
Yes.
this is a really good deck. It's called Earth Magic by Stephen Farmer, Oracle cards, 48 cards. So the idea is you can either deliberately or randomly choose a card, and this is a card that will give us a intuitive prompt to the question that we just posed, which is how can I connect more or better with nature, right? So I'm going to pick a card. And the card is, and this is all in the moment, spontaneous. Oh, okay. Fire,
Hmm.
fire, which the tagline is passion, fire. And I'll read the brief explanation in the short guidebook for fire. And clearly, we're dealing with one of the elements right there. Things it's like something's bubbling up. I'm feeling energy rising to the surface. That's the way it is for me. It may be different for you. Um, how do you connect? How do you intuit things? Do you get intuit prompts or sparks, knowingness, sensations in the body, words? Is something coming up for you yet?
Not
I'm just
yet.
curious
Not
how
yet.
you.
Usually, my
Okay, it's
body
coming.
reacts here.
Okay, and it may take time, especially if this is new to you. And the short description of it is: what are your passions? What turns you on? What ignites the inner flame, that creative spark? Uh, So something that makes your heart maybe more excited or quickened, it doesn't come from the outside, it comes from the inside. Although certain events like this event may trigger it. Can be a strong feeling, a sensation, something that's motivational. Okay, so those are a few of the thoughts. So when we go back to fire, and there's a looks like a native person doing a fire dance, and the question was connecting with nature. So that means we want to realize that nature can make us more passionate and live more fully, right?
Yes.
So if you want to live more fully, if you want to claim your power, if you want to find your voice, connect with nature. It's got all the energy and the secrets there for you to read the secret language of nature. And that will actually spark fire in yourself. And fire from the sun is one of the nature elements. So that might also be going in outside and in the sun as a way of like consciously being in nature and asking, share your secrets, connect with me, energize me. And if you do that, what I find is energy, and it will speak to you. The elements will speak to you, the trees, the plants, the air, the sun, all of it is alive and living, so it will just speak to you.
Yes, like anything else, we have to allocate the time to quiet ourselves and listen.
Right. So part of the motivation then, going back to the discipline thing, that might be even a schedule, a way of putting that in your calendar, you're prioritizing your day as being in nature with this intentional idea of connecting more deeply and often with nature, that fire, that passion.
Yes, thank you. And Philip, do you use, you mentioned angels and other etheric entities. How do you work with them on your daily basis, especially when you involve clients?
Right. So sometimes we use other decks that one is with archangels and one is with ascended masters. And we may draw a card. This is another one, Oracle deck, Keepers of the Light, Kyle Gray. And so we would draw a master. So if I was working with someone or we're teaching a class, we would draw a master and channel a message. So to go further, let's go further into nature and get a message from one of the masters, since I have that. And we have another deck with archangels too. And see which master comes up that further this dialogue, and I'll see what the message I get. Ooh. Odin, psychic insight. Okay, very intense. Sounds like fire, and I don't usually connect with Odin, so this will be a little newer experience. So I kind of channel whoever comes up, but I'm going to read the tagline for Odin. And these are often higher ascended beings or beings from higher realms, and a lot of them have mastered the earth plane or other planetary planes and are now communicating to us from the other side. Odin has the psychic insight. Your third eye is open, see the truth for what it is, follow your intuition. Okay. You're being encouraged to look beyond what your physical eyes are showing you, look within and follow your intuition. You may want to plan ahead at this time. It's important to see your mind and energy focused on the best possible outcome. There will be signs and symbols. Be aware of winged beings gracing your path as a wink from Odin. Okay. Odin, by the way, is Norse, Norway, all-father god who's revered to the present day. So his twin flame is Freya. And he's strong, but he's somewhat of a wild character. We sort of think of, I kind of think of the thunderbolts and energies awakening our natural psychic instincts, our third eye, having those deeper insights. Okay. So let me get a message directly from Odin here. Yes, dear ones, although I might seem mighty and at times intimidating, really I'm not. I'm here to wake you up, to light your fire, to make you dance in your life. Because life is short, as you know, at least this round, and you don't want to waste it by squandering yourself in being too passive, apathetic, or fearful. Those inner monsters you were talking about. Yes, you can tame them. Yes, you can live life as a warrior and have all the tools and equipment and draw it from me and other warrior beings who have that heightened energy available to you now. Look at life as an adventure and that you are doing very well in the process every day. And nature is your support. You're interacting with it and you're using it. It's to be used freely, but wisely and compassionately. With much love, energy, aliveness, and passion, Odin.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So he is a pretty high level, high energy being.
Yes. I think we are all protected. We all have someone watching over us these days, especially those of us who want to move higher on the spiritual path and want to do good in the world. So we shouldn't worry in a way that we won't make it, and our path will have bottlenecks and any other potential stubbornness from the elements. Let's say the elements.
Yes, because the elements are here. We're supposed to work with them. And at times there are challenges from the elements, either partly because we're riling up the elements through our disregard, and partly just the way they seem to operate and cleanse things.
Yes. And Philip, how do you see the energy of 2025? Or in fact, how do you feel it? Feel the energy of 20 to 25 and how everything um, will unfold for humanity from your perspective?
Well, we seem to be getting to a very high level of tension. It seems like things are going to burst, and I'm hoping they're going to burst in the right direction. In other words, going forward rather than having to go back further because there's so much people knocking heads against one another. Um, so what we can do individually is use tools like we're talking about, use the monster reframe, use holistic EFT tapping, connecting with the loving power of your soul, the mud, the mountaintop. These kind of things will raise your vibration, and that will collectively hopefully make a tipping point, inflection points for us going forward. Uh, One lady, thinking about going mud to the mountaintop relating to your question, she was very stressed by all the polarized opinions that are going on in the news and one side against the other and a lot of hypocrisy. And it was really stressing her out. So we helped her go to that mountaintop place. And from there, she realized, well, yeah, everyone is on their own journey. They have their own lessons. I can't really know that about them. I can't really control that, which was stressing her out. Instead, I can just send myself love down from that mountaintop. I can send the other people love too. So if you do things more like that, and I know we all get riled up and triggered at times, but keep going back to that place, I think that gives us the best hope and the best chances for going forward in a positive way.
Yes, and as I mentioned when we did the exercise, I have to train myself even more not to let a worry grow into a monster. Just keep it at a very minimal size and extinguish it as soon as possible from the neutrality point of view, because otherwise I personally won't reach that mountaintop I want to reach. So
Right.
from my
It's going to be
perspective, yeah,
dwelling on, he's spending too much time focusing on the wrong thing where we need to be more in the optimistic, hopeful place more of the time. Not to
yeah,
have our head in the sands and ignore this because it's important to recognize and deal with it too.
yes, indeed. Philip, are there any other programs you like to mention?
Well, we have two programs. We have a spiritual guide certification program, uh, and that's where we do with the oracles and the angels. And we also have a spiritual holistic coaching and healing program where we go very deep in the spiritual coaching and healing. And those are on our website, the Getting Thru, gettingthru.org, where you can find out about them. And a free gift, maybe a good place for people to start. We talked about emotional and spiritual intelligence. We have a spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence free quiz. And the listeners could get this free quiz at, here's a shortened URL, tinyurl.com/spiritual-IQ, tinyurl.com/spiritual-IQ for the free emotional spiritual intelligence quiz. And then they can connect with our newsletter and our programs and so forth if that interests them.
Thank you, and we'll have these links in the description of the interview for sure. As we're approaching the end of the interview, I want to ask you one more question. And I think I asked you before, but I want to see if anything has changed. What do you consider an accomplished life?
An accomplished life is following my heart to the best of my ability, knowing that things won't be perfect. I'm going to have setbacks, confusions, some inner monsters will rise their ugly heads, rear their ugly heads, and that's part of the journey. But I'm doing my best, and I want to live life looking back with no regrets if possible. So where I've kind of messed up, kind of review that now, do some inner healing for myself, and where like I help other people do, and address it now, and live my best life going forward to help myself and as many people as I can.
Yes, and I think the best reward in life is helping as many people as possible, because this is where our energy and happiness comes from.
Great, great, Claudiu.
Any other final thoughts before we end the interview?
Well, I often like to say something which I remind myself, just take one step at a time. If things seem overwhelming, which they do at times, just remember I can only take one step at a time.
Perfect. Philip, thank you very much. All the best to you and Jane, and many achievements in 2025.
Great being with you, Claudio, again.
Okay, bye. And to my viewers, thank you for watching. Leave a comment, share it with your friends, and until next time, love and gratitude.